The Superman, a Christopher Reeve Story, store among the best documentaries? Hello and welcome to Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen Superman, a Christopher Reeve Story. Is it good, is it bad, or somewhere right in the middle? Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it, subscribe if it's beneficial, or don't if it's just not your cup of tea, what you're getting out of this sort of content. Either way, you can join in this film culture community where we talk about a lot of cinema as a whole. And getting right into synopsis, actor Christopher Reeve rises to stardom when landing the role of Superman in the 1970s, but after a horse riding accident in 1995, he spends the rest of his life trying to solve the cure for spinal cord injuries. And getting right into the positives, this is a Christopher Reeve biopic of sorts that really captures his life in the fullest extent. Its primary focus, or what it spends most of its time on, is about the accident that made him a quadriplegic, just being able to struggle after that horse accident, getting him paralyzed from the neck down, and just all the struggles, all the benefits of things throughout his life that really pulled him through, and showing his perseverance to continue on living. But the certain aspects of his life, it's not necessarily showing too much of his younger years, but more so when he started and became a star as Superman, and moving on forward through his death, and even a little bit after his death, capturing different moments here and there. That's not fully chronological, but it also still manages to interweave its story as a great narrative, as something that you're able to follow as a through line. Well, it also captures, while most of it is based on the quadriplegic life, it also takes some different breaks here and there to go back along the chronological path when he was becoming Superman, all of the points of his life, certain points of the career, leading up to the point where he gets the accident. But the way it interweaves that story, the structure to the editing is well done because of the nature of how you're being able to follow through. It's not necessarily a chronological, and then there's the accident, and that's how he lives the rest of his life. It manages to capture a story that you're able to follow, despite the fact that it's not completely out of order. But it's also being able to have these two separate points of his life, one after the accident where it completely changed his perspective, certain points of view that he has to reshape his way of thinking, and also the point of a through line of before the accident, but from the point he became Superman, things he was dealing with his first marriage, his second marriage, certain things with his kids, and how his perspective is changing, how he's really envisioning his life, how his life is changing from all the little things to the big broad scope of just living in general, and what it means to be a hero, what it means to take on that mantle of having Superman be his big breakout role and his debut into film as a whole, and what that perspective looks like when he's going into smaller roles and being a person that just tries to humble himself, tries to manage to tackle all these different things in his life. And he's a thoughtful person that's really trying to manage all these different goals, all these different ways of living just to live. And how that also is a reflection once you get the points of perspective after the accident, just being able to capture that story while also having a good narrative, a good editing cycle, while being able to learn about all the friends by his side, all the family beats that I wasn't nearly as informed about, that this film really manages to tackle because of all those narrative beats, that manages to hold its ground and be able to hold your attention with emotional grabbing moments, certain points where there's this creative representation of Superman and the kryptonite, showing the weaknesses of his life and creating a visual representation through that image, the image of hope, and there's certain weaknesses where he's still just a man. He's still having all these troubles, ups and downs of life, but still being able to show how he's persevering and going all these dips and ups as we live out our lives as well. And so it's just an emotional ride that manages to grab your attention, and whether you're informed from the get-go or you're like me where I wasn't quite as informed about his life, certain points of just what you're getting into, you're not getting a lot of his earlier life before he was really a big actor, but being able to see all these interviews, all these different pieces of documentaries or interviews that have gone on in the past, found footage that manages to really shape this film as a whole, or different photos and things that really make this film stand out. It's all there to really shape up what makes up a great narrative for finding how this film folds up together as a whole. And what I love about it too is it manages to expose some discrepancies, different controversial moments, certain points of his life where as an actor, he wasn't married to his first wife or girlfriend, however you describe that, and just the way that goes about covering different articles while still feeling like it is essential to the point of the story because of how it's connected to him rising up into power as a movie star, becoming Superman, and also the different things as an actor when he's not necessarily on the top of the game, what his opinions were on Superman 3 and 4, how that was made. It doesn't go into clean-cut detail. It doesn't have every bit of dialogue because some of the footage might not have been there, but it still shows the attitude he had towards some of these things, whether he was contracted or what he's getting pulled into, because with Superman being his huge role, it's hard to find his ground and footing into all these other unknown roles or movies that don't necessarily become as commercially successful because he landed such a big, iconic thing. And the expectations that come from that just manages to expose some of the ideas, some of the things that we may need to learn about what he was going up with. You're not going to get every little detail here and there, but as a documentary, it really shapes itself well as a narrative. And going into the mix elements, if you're not a fan of Christopher Reeve or the Superman in general, this is still a film I would recommend to most people. Just about anyone in general. You may not like it quite as much, but it's an informational piece. It's not necessarily the most crafty with its narrative, but I still defend it for being well edited, for having the emotional rides and resonance, especially if you're connected and enjoy other actors that he is connected to. The music is good and settles in well. I feel like there could have been a little bit more creativity with the music and a flow structure to how it's grounded on, but as a whole, I really enjoy all the narrative beats that tackle this film overall as a whole. So that's just my personal thoughts on Christopher Reeve, Superman Story. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this documentary. Is it good? Is it bad? Or somewhere right in the middle? Let me know all your thoughts. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already to join in film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.